I had absolutely no idea how popular this lease purchase program was in the US. I mean, my God. I'm floored, I'm shocked. Probably met about 10 to 12 fleet owners while I was in Chicago. I met the guys with 100 trucks, 400 trucks, 300 trucks, 600 trucks, and I also met one with 3,800 trucks. It happened to be that he's even younger than I am. I mean, wow, what an accomplishment. The lease purchase program is completely different in Canada than it is in the US, and honestly, I can't figure out which one is better, and that's why I decided to do this video. I really want to hear your opinion, the audience. I'm going to show you a couple of pay stubs of our lease operators, and I really want to compare it to American lease operators, which I'm sure a lot of you guys out there, the audience, will be able to relate. But the biggest difference between Canadian lease operators and US lease operators is in Canada, the lease operators here get a rate per mile. They could care less about the economy. They could care less about the pay rates. They don't care if it's $2.20 a mile or $1.50 a mile, because they get paid for every single mile that they drive. Over the last couple of weeks, I probably have sat into about 15 interviews with lease operators in the US, and I explained to them the difference between a Canadian lease operator and a US lease operator. So the biggest difference I would have to say is, number one, is in Canada you get paid per mile, and in the US it doesn't matter which trucking company I talk to, they all get paid gross earnings. Again, like I said, I will go into actual pay statements of our lease operators here, but I thought it would be really good to first talk about the differences between the two. Why do I not like the US system? I don't like it because of one reason and one reason only, is because there's no consequences on the US companies, the shitty US companies. In the US, an owner-operator pays for everything. He pays for the insurance, for the plates, for the tolls, for the trailer, for the truck, for the ELDs, and you name it, the driver pays for everything. The lease operator pays for everything. And on top of that, he pays a lease payment. In Canada, they don't pay for anything. Not the insurance, not for the plates, not for the tolls, not for the trailer. The lease operator only pays for the lease of the truck, and he pays for the fuel. That's it. That's where it ends. Okay, and you're gonna see in the pay stubs that I'm gonna show you what lease operators make. So why do I not like the US system? Because the US system has zero accountability for shitty companies, okay? If I know that the owner-operator pays for anything, there's really nothing pushing me to do better for that owner-operator. I mean, does it really matter if I run him at $2 a mile or $2.05 per mile? I mean, I'm only getting, the US companies differentiate themselves between 90-10, 88-12, 85-15. There's different variations there of pay structures on the lease purchase program. But when the freight rates go down, all the owner-operators feel it, and everybody starts dropping their truck away. And this whole thing about trucks being zero money down and this whole walk-away lease, it's all built in for like a rental, and the rental, basically you can walk away from it whenever you want, and I hate that. When talking to owner-operators, they want stability. That's really what everybody wants. I, as a fleet owner, I want stability. I hate these fluctuations in freight rates. If somebody told me, Ronan, let's stabilize your rates at $2.15 per mile, round trip rates, year round, just continue working, I'd be the first one to say, where do I sign? I mean, I hate the fact that we go to $2.40, $2.50, and then right back down to $2 per mile. And then sometimes, you're at the mercy of brokers, and sometimes you're at the mercy of just the economy, because the economy is not doing so well. And a lot of the times we here in Canada, we're at the mercy of the fluctuation of the Canadian and US dollar. So what do I want as a fleet owner? I want stability. That's what I want. And when I start talking to owner operators and I ask them, what is it that you want? And they answer, stability is what they want. Give me a rate per mile, I'll do all the miles. So it's great because the owner operator can seriously focus on creating miles. The owner operator can focus on, driving the miles, maximizing his miles, as long as he knows that he's getting paid for every single mile. I mean, honestly, he really shouldn't care about empty miles, loaded miles. Here in Canada, we push our dispatchers to make sure that there's no layovers, make sure that the driver's running at least 550 miles per day. Why? Because if we don't, we, the company, company pay for the insurance. We, the company, pays for the trailer expense, for the tolls, for the plates. We have expenses, right? And if that driver is not producing miles, we feel it in our pocket. And that's what I don't like about the US system. The US system, the owner-operator pays for everything. I promised you I was going to show you some pay stubs of our lease operators in our company right now working in Canada. I am thinking of introducing the exact same system into the US. I just need your feedback out there, guys. This is probably the first time I'm asking for your feedback. I'd really love to hear it in the comments below. Do you prefer a gross earnings, or would you prefer to work in a system that pays you a flat rate per mile, just like we do here in Canada? Okay, I honestly created a questionnaire for you lease operators or guys that are thinking to go into a lease purchase program. Why did I create this questionnaire? Because I feel like there's a lot of questions that need to be answered for you guys. A lot of questions around the ownership transfer, a lot of questions around who's responsible for repairs and maintenance, a lot of questions around pay structure, buyout. There's so many questions. I actually got to about 100 questions, and they are divided into categories. More of the financing, more of the work. Some of it revolves around financing and payments, the amortization schedules. There's a lot of questions that you need to be asking before you go into a lease purchase program, especially in the US. There's so many companies out there offering you a lease purchase program. So which one do you actually choose? So this guide is actually going to help you choose. Now, enough about this guide, enough about, me speaking. I told you I was going to share some of the pay stubs with you of these lease operators. So here you have unit 679. These are 2020s, 21s, 22s under our lease purchase program. You can see here that this lease operator, the pay statement is for July 16th to the 31st. Driver drove 6,353 miles. Okay, how do I know that? Based on the fuel surcharge. So we here pay a rate per mile plus fuel surcharge. Now, fuel surcharge usually goes up and down depending on the price of diesel, okay? So it goes by the national average. But here we have $10,452 is what the driver grossed out, driving 6,353 miles, and then he got an extra $444 in fuel surcharge. So in 15 days, the driver grossed out $10,896. So everything here is reimbursement. The driver gets paid back tolls, scales, lumper fee, whatever it is that he paid for. Usually it's through our own cards. And you can see here that this is a fairly new lease operator because we're taking a holdback from him. You can see that the truck lease is $1,319. That's semi-monthly, so every 1st and 15th he gets deducted that much. Now, if you take his monthly payment, it's probably around $2,600 for that truck. He has an additional health benefit plan that he wants and a disability plan, and he has buy-down insurance that he chooses to get. Now, after that, you have the Canadian fuel, the US fuel, and then you can see how much the driver made take home net in his pocket. So this money was actually transferred to his bank account, $5,865. That's in 15 days, okay? So this goes into his corporation, and then from the corporation, he gets to distribute and do whatever it is that he wants and show whatever money he wants into taxes. That's lease operator number 1. Let's go into lease operator number 2. Now, I don't want to just show you all the good pays. You're also going to see some bad pays because I'd like to give you the good with the bad. You can see here that the driver grossed out $9,734. He drove 5,939 miles. His fuel surcharge was 12 cents at $712. He grossed out $10,447. His truck lease is $1,516, so he pays about $3,000 for his truck, and then he has the buy-down insurance that he chooses to get, and then he has the fuel US fuel, okay? Now, you can see here the fuel US is the only deduction that he has over here, and then you can see that his net take home is $5,176. This is in 2 weeks. Some of you want to see a really good paycheck, so we're going to go into paycheck number 3. All right, so this is probably the highest paycheck you'll see because the owner operator or the lease operator, unit number 343, you can see that he grossed out $11,764. He did drive 7,473 miles, $822 in fuel surcharge. Now the pay statement is from August 16th to the 31st. He probably got paid on September 1st. This was his pay. You can see here he grossed out $12,586. And then you have his deductions for his truck. $1,516, buy-down insurance, fuel Canadian, fuel US. You can see the driver's left off with $6,000 $345. That's in 15 days. Not always is it nice and dandy and the rosy, so I'm gonna show you also a paycheck that's not the greatest. So here you have a driver that drove only 4,964 miles. I don't know why he drove only 4,000. We usually have here loads and mileage, but don't take my word for it. You can listen to any one of our drivers. You can see the driver grossed out here $9,483. And then his deductions, so he does pay $1,500 a month for his truck plus HST, which is our taxes over here. And then you can see the driver has disability insurance, buy down insurance, fuel Canadian, fuel US, and cash advance. So this driver took home $4,098. Now, is this more than a company driver would get paid? Absolutely. If you take 65 cents per mile and you multiply that by $4,964, it's definitely a lot more than 65 cents per mile. But the advantages that these drivers have, remember, now there's a big push right now in the US, also in Canada, the difference between 1099 versus W9. You know, the drivers can legally work under 1099 under a lease purchase program. Okay, you are considered to be a lease operator, self-employed under your corporation. Guys, I can't stress this enough. You need to start building wealth within your corporation, and then from there you need to pay yourself as a company driver. I would only pay myself whatever it is that you need as a company driver, not your full salary. I really would like to hear a lot of your feedback in regards to which would you prefer? What pay structure would you prefer? Should I start introducing this pay structure into the US, or should we just stick to the same thing that everybody else does, which is the split revenue? Because I do see that there's a lot of companies getting into trouble with that. I do see a lot of companies that are skimming off the top, and it's just not fair. So why not introduce a system that the drivers know what they're getting themselves into? They won't get affected by fluctuations in the market. They will prefer to just produce the miles and fairly get compensated for the mileage that they produce. Hopefully you learned something from this video. I'm Ronan, and I'll catch you in my next one.